Hey, good morning. I'll be getting started real soon. Excuse me. Goodness gracious. Post the Froggy McPants. Paste. And go. Close the Discord. Let's go to single cam. Hello. You know what? I think I want to add a source to this view. Hi, good morning. It is Wednesday, September 4th. I'm going to name a folder. What are you doing, Rob? Add. I want to add a widget. Widgets! Hey, good morning. I'm still getting my head together. I'll add that source. Chat box. Yeah, let's add that. Add source. Push you way over here. And we'll bigify. And if we've got a little bit of overlap, that's fine. Okay. So I've got this rolling. And I'm going to go project. Boop. And I will pin it. Manually unpin. There's that. Hide that. Oh, it doesn't show it here. That's silly. Let's go into the settings here. Themed box, always show messages. Hey, what's up, Rev? Here I is. I'm just tweaking my chat panel here. All right. Hey, there we go. Yeah, waking up at a decent hour is tricky. So yesterday I got I didn't post yesterday's streams to YouTube just because it was a lot of me thrashing and getting my head back together after a long weekend. But I did work a little bit after I ended the afternoon stream, and I got the claims transformation. Robot, what are you doing? Robot wants to look at September. She's outside. I should really name my camera Robot. And Cambot feels like a really great name. So, on Friday I got a Microsoft Graph wrapper built that can go out and query the groups that a user belongs to. And then yesterday I worked on getting that component integrated into the Blazor application, and I kept going down wrong paths or paths that weren't working for me and so on. And by the end of the afternoon stream, I still hadn't made appreciable progress. But I did figure out what I need to do and where I need to call into Microsoft Graph in the afternoon. So I hooked it into this screen here, and this is all usable, or not usable, but it's basically it's publicly available information. The important thing here is that I figured out how to add the two user groups that this particular user is in to the claims. Now, I realized as I was doing this and as I was inspecting, I do need to alter the what comes back from the sign in, sign up flow over in Entra. So give me a moment here. I'll open the Azure portal and log in. And okay, good. I'm in DevDat apps. I need to go into Entra ID. Here we go. Manage. Is it under manage or flows? I don't remember. It may not be in here. Manage tenants, what's new, blah, 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 blah. All right, I'm going to need to flip back over here and switch directory back to default and go into here. I got to open the tenant itself. Here we go. My dashboard. And here we go. I found the place that I need to be. And we go into user flows. And I need to do some work, excuse me, in the sign up, sign in. And I need to edit the application claims, because I need to bring back the email address. While I'm here, is there anything else I want to bring back? City, country, region, identity provider access token, job title, postal code, state, province, street address. I don't care about any of this stuff. Legal age classification, I might at some point. If I need it, I'll add it later. But let's save. All right, good. That's been updated. And I'm going to log out of here. I'm going to sign back in as me again. So we'll sign in. And we'll just manually navigate to that temporary user info page that I stood up on Friday when we were getting ready to do all of this stuff. Good, and here's my emails. Perfect. So there's that. Here's the groups that I'm a member of, and that is great. So we've got App GM Tools paid users, App GM Tools users. Beautiful. And the reason I didn't say App GM Tools free users is because I want these groups to be additive. So people in GM Tools paid users will have all of the permissions that GM Tools users have and a little bit more. And if there are no role claims, then they're basically a guest, and they'll only have access to the things that that don't require authorization or anything like that. So here's how I did it. I had to create, or I had to implement an IClaimsTransformation class, or I had to implement a class that create a class that implements IClaimsTransformation. Provide it with the user access service that I created on Friday, and then implement the transform async method, which essentially takes in a claims principal. And first, we make sure that that principal is actually signed in and we have an ID for them. If we don't, we just bail. We return the principal as is. Then we clone the principal, build a new identity, a claims identity on that principal, and then we go and get their AD groups. And if there are any groups that match the configured naming pattern, and I believe that naming pattern is apps_GM tools or apps-GM tools or something like that, then we add each of those group names as a role claim, and then we return the clone. If we were unable to clone or that new identity got created as null, then we just return the principal as it existed. So that's how we did that. Excuse me. And then out in program, contrary to my initial suspicion, where I needed to actually inject it into the ticket handling stuff, I added builder.services.addScoped down here in the claims transformation as a claims transformer down here. Now, I did notice yesterday when I was stepping through code that it was doing that claims transformation process every request. And I don't want that. I think I'm going to need to add some caching at some point and then have that class actually check the memory cache to make sure it hasn't already gone and gotten the roles for a user. The issue with that is if the roles change while the roles are cached, then the access won't change until that cache item gets invalidated and it refetches. And that's getting into a whole pile of stuff that I'm not sure I want to get into just yet. I'm not afraid of introducing events to this system. It's just a level of complexity that I don't want to take on yet. So very good. We are going to, later on this morning and into this afternoon, start taking those, using those expected roles to build authorization policies that I'm going to apply to different pages throughout the application. But before I get into that, while it's top of mind, I actually wanted to, what's all this stuff? Yeah, that's CSS crap. So I actually wanted to dig into, or not dig into, but I actually wanted to list out a bunch of the to-dos that I want to get done sooner than later. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by just listing the remaining tasks. So we can bring this down here so that it's fully on screen. It's just Notepad. Remaining tasks. Clean up the placeholders in the UI. Bring in some kind of I'm working here. Overlay for when the app is running a longer async task. Fix up. Add a save button on the random results view alongside the get AI description button. when the AI description comes back, save the character immediately. When save, user triggered save completes, disable the button, replace with edit eventually. Implement. Hey, what's up, Frightful? Is that a teapot? Nope, that's a Donkey Kong. Implement an edit screen for the characters. Donkey Kong equals HTTP 418. All right. Oh, there will be no Rickrolling. Not today. Implementing edit screen for the characters. Whoops. Think about how to control what the AI does and doesn't generate if a generatable field has a value. We should not generate. We should not gen AI for that detail. All right, those are like hard coding tasks. We need new pages in app 4. Privacy policy. Public. About. Public. Roadmap. App. GM tools. Founders Club. Yes. When I bring this thing live, before I start advertising it and accepting paying customers from the public, I'm going to be approaching friends that play D&D, friends that are DMs, maybe perhaps some quasi-public figures that I have met over the years who are professional dungeon masters, about joining the Founders Club. And they'll be paid members, but it's going to be like the first 20 or 30 people that are, basically just invited to become customers before I open it up to, everybody who will have access to basically what the paid users will have, but also have access to the roadmap, which is the list of upcoming features, things that I need to do, things that I want to do, et cetera, et cetera. I'm probably going to create a Discord channel, or a Discord server and a Discord channel just for them. Polls, stuff like that. Oh, Alan's definitely on my list of people to ask to become a member of the Founders Club. And basically just like early adopters of the application that I'm going to use to get user feedback from people that know what they're doing, and as time goes by, I'll probably, throw some goodies their way, like maybe a slightly expanded quota, stuff like that. I haven't fully thought of all of those things yet. Roadmap. Do, 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 do. Dice roller screen would be free, doesn't use any metered resources. This is a convenience thing. All right, and that's really about it. Oh, sign up for a payment processor and begin integrating that. Need to figure out how to implement secure webhooks and validate inbound request origins. Stripe, Lemon Squeezy, who technically is now Stripe because apparently Stripe bought Lemon Squeezy. They're both sort of payment processors. They allow they've got a they've both got pretty rich APIs in terms of being able to set up subscription type recurring billing, one-offs. I don't anticipate doing one-off purchases yet. I can't think of anything where I would want to do that. Fix up the homepage. That needs to go to the top. Up here. PayPal is an option, but I think what I'm going to do is I would enable PayPal as a payment option through the payment automation providers. I've already got a coffee account that I'm using for people that would support the stream, and what I'm doing as that developer dad. I think for this, I want an actual payment processor like Stripe or Lemon Squeezy. And then, of course, they can route to, I would enable PayPal, I'd enable Apple Pay, all of those things. And of course, anything that comes in through that processor would go into a business bank account that I also need to stand up and all of that stuff. I've got those tasks in a different list. It's 9 of 12's head. That's where that list lives. So, yeah, PayPal Business is also a processor. I've been seeing people on the social medias complaining about how much of a pain in the neck PayPal is to integrate and work with. And you and I have both had our own anecdotal evidence that PayPal is probably not the move, not as the primary processor or account. Because I do have a PayPal business account. It's what sits behind my coffee thing. But yeah, we need to get together, and I could use your help brainstorming the business plan. Yeah, PayPal's been really, really great for decades, but Cory Doctorow came up with a beautiful word to describe what happens when a company starts off really caring about their employees and caring about their customers and delivering the best experience for all of the actual core stakeholders, and then they go publicly traded and they start just cutting corners and being all about, well, okay, so we'll bring in the customers and we'll make it all about them, and then we'll bring in businesses that want to sell to those customers and we'll make it all about the businesses, and then we'll do a initial public offering and we'll have stocks on Wall Street, and then we'll make it all about the shareholders, and that process is called enshittification, and I absolutely love that word. Cory Doctorow coined it, and it's one of the reasons why I want to keep this idea like small sort of digital cottage type thing. Although at $10 a month, if I get to 1,000 monthly subscribers, I don't have to worry about working for anybody else anymore. I can just do this full time, because that's almost my corporate income when I was working full time for somebody else. And if I can get to 1,000, I can get to 2,000. And then I've just given myself a big fat raise. Sort of. Taxes, insurance, etc., etc., etc. So that is sort of my to-do list. Roadmap. Now, far future. These NPCs need places to work and hang out. Extend concept to taverns, shops, smithies, libraries, these places need somewhere to be. Extend NPC workplaces to town. And let's see here. I am going to group those like so. Path 1. NPCs don't live in a vacuum. They may or may not. Tragic backstory. Have families. Add ability for user to create relationships between the NPCs they generate. Yeah, Stripe has been marketing themselves aggressively. They're sort of the 800-pound gorilla. Oh, that'd be fun. That could be very fun. I think I'm going to start with people that we know around Statesville 9, and maybe some of the friendlier GMs that we met on that cruise last year. I feel like Dot would be a fantastic contact, even if it's just for fast feedback, that kind of thing. Goldplay, pleased to meet you. Guess what? Knock knock. Who's there? Banhammer. One app case, being able to use it with many DMs. Yeah. Yeah. That'd be really cool. I'll have to I'll be starting to make personal contacts very, very soon. All right. Path two. Oh, damn it. I'm typing in the wrong window. Path two is Encounter Planner Tracker. This probably won't use AI. Will be heavily reliant on the creatures described in the SRD. Will need mechanical stats for characters and critters. Character tracking. Keep character names. Player character tracking. Keep character names. Player names. Classes. Levels. Basic stats. Encounter Planner Tracker allows GM to build out trackers for the encounters in game, add the PCs and critters with basic stats, initiative, hit points, armor class, etc. Keep display basic critter abilities on each critter's turn. And the goal for this encounter planner or tracker isn't to help the game master design the encounters at first. One of the biggest pains in the neck that I run into regularly, and it's a huge pain point for me, when I'm running a game and the party runs into a combat encounter. If I haven't already created like a pages document and death packs, I'll comment on that in a minute. Um, but if I'm running a game and the characters run into a group of enemies, and I haven't already in like an Apple Pages document created a table with the character names with like their AC, hit points, etc., and the same thing, like a row for each of the critters in the encounter, and then notes about what all the critters can do as their attack actions and so on. I am forever in the middle of combat flipping through the bloody monster manual, and it's just a huge drag, and it breaks the flow of the session. It breaks immersion, all of those things, and it drives me nuts because I've got my players sitting there while I'm fumbling through the rule books to find all of the things that are going to be happening in that combat. So if instead I had the ability to, in advance, set up some encounters for this upcoming session and just drag the monsters into the encounter, then it would be a whole lot smoother when they get to that encounter for me to just look up my list of planned encounters and say, okay, click, you run into 6 bandits. Yeah, scribbling quick estimates and so on and so forth is fine, but I really want to have accurate hit points and armor class, and how their hit bonus on the scimitar attack, what kind of damage the scimitar attack does, if they've got other abilities, stuff like that. This is all stuff that I do when I'm preparing for a live session, and it's a pain in the ass and it's time consuming. So yeah, I'm thinking this would be a future feature that I would add. These guys, like this bit is a path that I could go. This bit is another path that I could go. Neither of these are going to be in place for release. These are future development concepts. Display basic critter abilities on each critter's turn. Manually input PC initiative. Roll critter initiative. Advance through init order with a button click. There we go. Yeah. So yeah, those are a couple ideas for future functionality. Now, Deathpack's brought up that'd be cool, sort of shared worlds that multiple DMs could use. That'd be really, really neat. And I would love that. I know a couple other DMs would absolutely love that. But then we start to get into instancing, because I don't want my buddy DM who's running a campaign whose players are all murder hobos coming into town and killing these NPCs that my party has like friendly relationships with. Because then we got to get into PvP and all of that stuff, and then we have to have like a big in-person mega game where one party is fighting the other party, and it's just no. It'd be awesome, but it would be very difficult to implement. So I think the concept of having multiple users, yeah. At our local gaming shop, Nine just mentioned, there were a bunch of us who were all talking about all of our campaigns taking place in the same fictitious world, but unfortunately, like one of those DMs quit DMing at the shop anyway, and it just kind of drifted apart. It was a really cool idea, but it didn't pan out. I love the idea of creating a collaborative space for DMs to work together on fleshing out a game world, but I think when it came time for a DM to run a campaign within that world, they would be running it on a copy or an instance of that world rather than just the master branch. And then they could collaboratively get together and merge changes that their players enacted on the world into that master worldview. But that functionality requires an awful lot more stuff that I'm not ready to bake in yet. We can iterate towards that concept, absolutely, but as far as near future, I don't see that as being something that would be super useful. My goal here is to build some tools for DMs that ease the pain points in running a campaign, running a gaming session, stuff like that. And then as we add to the toolbox, we can start. Yeah, the NPC generator is the very first use case, and it's sort of informing the architecture and all of that stuff. But over time, I can absolutely see myself adding these far future type features. But this is, in the future when we're all driving flying cars and we have replicators and all of our basic needs are met by the United Federation of Planets type things. This is just brainstorm. I would love to build this. But in order to build this, I need income, which means send me your money. Yes, exactly. Exactly. That's my strategy, Mr. Pax. A little taste to get people buying, and then I just keep adding value over time. It's sort of the Apple model for releasing new products over the past, let's say, 20 years. I mean, the first iPhone was I mean, it was great, but then they added the App Store and things exploded. Um, and of course, the iPhone, the proof of concept or MVP for the iPhone was the iPod. And then they built the iPod into its own whole product line and then released the iPad and the iPhone, which were just evolutions and forks of that concept with, continually adding value. Apple is very rarely the first out of the gate when it comes to new technology adoption, but I like to entertain the notion that they prefer to wait until they can nail the user experience and nail the technology before they release. I'm very curious to see how the Apple Vision thing pans out over the next few years. Because when they announced the Vision Pro, I was like, that's really neat, but I'm very disappointed. I'm not going to walk around with a big white thing on my face. And I'm not going to spend 8 hours a day with that big white thing on my face. And I'm certainly not paying $4,000 for it. If they come out with a little thing that I can clip to the frame of my glasses that projects heads up display type stuff that doesn't interfere with my field of vision, I will pull out my Apple Card so fast I may risk cutting myself for that kind of thing. All right. So these are sort of our list of our remaining tasks and what I need to do in a concrete format. Like this stuff, absolutely got to get it done. This can fall down the priority stack. And I feel like this dice roller screen, just for convenience, is going to be a huge value add. And I actually found a free JavaScript library that renders all the different dice dynamically based on the results of the random number generation. And because I'm using Blazor, I can wrap my dice roller in a small controller or a manager class and push that into a WebAssembly control that also includes that JavaScript library that renders and rolls the dice, and make that like, here, for convenience sake, here's some dice. And it just pops up a little floating dialogue that looks like a dice rolling thing. I've got one. Looks like one of these, or, same concept. I'd have to do some graphic design for it, but one of these guys, and they say, give me 2d20 with advantage, and it like rolls the dice and they tumble around the little frame and do the thing, and then you get your results and stuff. Just a pure convenience feature. So this stuff is actually, those are, I got to do these before I even entertain the idea of opening this up to the public. As a matter of fact, this because AI tokens are not free. These are my priority ones. Roadmap. Exhaustive testing. Not just automated testing, but exhaustive eyes on screen. I have observed some not great behavior from the UI when I'm trying to use it from a location where the internet is flaky. Because I was trying to show this to my players on Saturday over at the local gaming shop, and their Wi-Fi is terrible. And from my point of view, the app was barely usable. I really hope that means I don't have to fail over to using something like Angular or React instead of Blazor. Because I don't know Angular or React or Vue or any of those front-end JavaScript frameworks, and I don't enjoy working in JavaScript. All right, so we've blah, blah, blah about things that have to happen, stuff like that. Implement the permissions policy and apply it to the pages that already exist, and it'll be ready for future pages. File, save as, and I was going to drop this on my Windows desktop. Yes, yeah, the server rendered controls thing I feel is largely the culprit, and I haven't dug into client rendered controls. Hey, what's up, C Films? I'm doing okay. I'm just going to call this quasi roadmap. I'll come up with a more formal roadmap to put into the pages of the application later. And like I said, the roadmap is only going to be available to the founders, or like there's going to be like the private roadmap, and then there's going to be the public roadmap. I should probably also do changes and updates for transparency. There we go. All right, Mr. Pax, do the things. Take care of yourself. Try not to die in your meeting, because meetings suck, dude. I get it. I don't miss them. But yeah, I'll catch you again next time. KT meetings. Oh, God. Oh, those are the worst. Are you bringing in new people, or is somebody more senior leaving and trying to dump the contents of their head into your head? Because that's what documentation is for. I know we don't do documentation in Agile, and we don't do architecture in Agile, but gosh, like I'm not a big fan of Agile, but this almost looks like a rough backlog, doesn't it? And of course, I'm using GitHub, and I've got a GitHub project, and I'm using Kanban over there to just keep myself honest and keep myself focused. So this afternoon, because we're almost out of time, well, I guess I can get started. I'm going to close up resource access because I don't need that right now. And I'm going to close up my framework because I don't need that now. Okay. Passing off some new things over to us. All right. So you guys are the grumpy maintenance folks that have to deal with other people's crappy code. And I can collapse this. As a matter of fact, I'm going to collapse this. Configure AppSec. This is really messy. I don't like this, but whatever. It's what it has to be. Add Razor components. Create services. I'm going to add a comment. Add the local custom services that are use case relevant. Oh, good Lord. I hope the outsourced other company and all of that stuff actually follow some architecture principles. Because I've dealt with code bases that have come back from outside the organization, and ow, I feel for you, man. Set up. I don't need to document. I don't need that comment that I was just about to write. Set up logging. Create services. Configure AppSec. That's self-explanatory. All right. So we can save all of this stuff. Now, down inside AppSec, we're adding our authentication. We're adding controllers with views. We're adding the claims transformation. Okay, so that's not bad. Now, I did notice that my claims transformation is happening on every request. And I wonder if I'm pretty sure the services container is not a pipeline type thing. So it doesn't matter what order those services get added in. Ish. But let's move that up there. And because I did just change the way the code runs, I should run the app. Okay, good. Good. Yeah, it's when I was working for the consulting company as an architect, one of the things I always pushed for and very rarely ever got was to have the team that was created for any of the projects that we were brought in for composed of people from the company I worked for and the client company. Like I'm talking about developers from the client company. And nobody ever went for that. They were, because the folks on my side were like, no, we have to sell billable hours. And the folks on the client side were, no, they're too busy. And I would always be like, all right, but let's be realistic. We are not always going to be here. And at some point in time, you're going to need to be able to operate and maintain this thing on your own because of, budget cuts or what have you. And nobody ever really picked up on it. The developers and their immediate management, and sometimes even the directors at the client departments, loved it. But the VPs and the sales executives and all that stuff always poo-pooed my idea, even though it was ideally the best thing for the client, like the best solution. And, I would love to have seen that actually get some wings, but unfortunately it did not. Now, I want to see if that fires on every request. And it doesn't look like it is anymore. Now, this is going to fail because the database is sleeping. But let's log out. Okay, so it fires on logout, and that's to be expected. Fires a couple of times on logout, but that's fine. Can I hit NPCs? Doesn't fire there. Fires here. Sign in. Okay, that's as expected. Also as expected. Why is it constantly firing like that? That's weird. It really doesn't need to, but whatever. Now, if I make another page request, it does, oh, my database woke up. Cool. All right, back to list, back to list. Oh, that's another item for the to-dos is fix up the home page, make sure the NPCs carry their storage key and user owner ID through to the UI and back again. Needed for edit. Add the NPC filter controls on the NPC list screen. These are all things that I just kind of skipped out of as I was building because I wanted to get to next concept, next concept, next concept, and it's fine because these are things that I can always come back and add later on because I've designed the code and built this thing in a way that makes it not painful to do. We can do that later if we decide we need to. And adding filter controls on the NPC list screen is absolutely something that we have to. Making sure the NPCs that get displayed on the screen have their key, their identifier in storage, and who owns them, that also has to happen before go live. But it's going to be easy enough to add that stuff because I actually put some thought into how we build our program. So this morning, I think, has been valuable because we've kind of collected my thoughts and talked through a lot of the stuff that still needs to happen. And this afternoon, I'm going to start working on not sign, but user info. Here's that. Off you go. Come on, what are you doing, man? Stop. Continue. I'm going to start working on leveraging these roles in building access policies for these pages and other pages as I build them. And we're actually going to have layered access policies because when we get in here, I think for non-paid users, I'm going to allow create and let them pick this stuff, human, roll of dice type things. And I'll probably add like some user created detail type stuff, like text boxes where they can give a name and flesh out these appearances and professions and stuff on their own Steam. This little button down here is going to be for people that are paying only. And I think for non-paid users, I'm going to let them have like 5 randomly generated, no AI description NPCs stored at any given time. But I really like the collaborative idea that Deathpacks floated But that is going to be a much, much later feature and idea. So I think I'm going to call it a morning, and I'm going to thank you all for hanging out and chatting. The conversation was fantastic. And I will be back at 1 o'clock Eastern time, and we're going to start building the code that creates those policies that controls access to the different pages in the application. So until then, take care of yourselves, be kind to each other, and mostly yourselves. Software development's hard, and it's really easy to give into negative self-talk when things ain't going right. So just remember, you you are where you're at for a reason. If you're currently working in software, then you're not a scrub. And if you're between gigs, the right organization just hasn't found you yet. So take care of yourselves. I will see you all again this afternoon. Bye now.